May is Lupus Awareness Month, and in today's episode, we will hear from a young woman who will be sharing her journey with lupus. Let's take a look. Welcome to Breaking Through, Rompiendo Barreras. I am Ingrid.
And I am Jocelyn Paz, and today we have a very special guest, my lovely and beautiful cousin, Jessy Meraz.
Hi, I'm Jessy, and thank you both for having me here today.
Thank you for accepting this invitation. We're so happy that you're here with us. And we're also looking forward to talk to you about your journey with lupus. So what exactly is lupus?
So lupus it's a little bit different for everybody. It's an autoimmune disease. So it's when basically your own body attacks itself. It affects obviously different people different ways, and there are multiple types of lupus as well. It affects pretty much your whole body, like every organ.
So what type of organ does it affect you personally?
So for me, it affects my kidneys. So I have what's called lupus, SLE. I can't really say the word, but it basically has to do with my kidneys. That's the main thing that it affects.
Okay, and how old were you when you were diagnosed?
So I was 9 years old. Actually, it was the month before my 10th birthday that I got diagnosed.
Wow. And that's interesting because when we were actually researching this, you guys can also check it out at lupus.org. It actually says that it usually attacks women of ages from 15 to 44 years old.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were diagnosed at 9 years old, how can you tell us more about that process of what happened that got you to to figuring out what lupus is and why you were diagnosed with it?
So the main thing was just me feeling tired all the time. So we were actually in sports during that time. My mom had put me in cheer. My brothers were both in soccer, and then we were basically on the road all throughout the week, and so it was a lot going on. So we were eating lots of fast food because we were always busy. So I think one of the biggest signs for my mom was that I was always tired. So she decided to take me to the doctor. And that's when they had like the blood drawn and everything, and they sent me home that night. And then we got a call from the pediatric saying that my mom had to take me to the hospital immediately. They have a room booked for me, and that was basically all they told us. So we had to pack up and go to the hospital. And from there, it was about, I think, a week or so that it took them to finally diagnose me. So they ran a lot of tests and stuff. It wasn't figured out right away until they did what's called a biopsy. So they take a piece of took a piece of my kidney out. And it was a very small procedure. They take it out with like a syringe, and then from there they were able to do what's called a biopsy and look at the kidney, and that's when they were able to diagnose me.
Wow. What was going on in your mind and in your heart when all this process? I know you were like 9 years old, but what was going into your head? Like, what was happening?
Honestly, I don't remember much. I do remember a lot of like the doctors in the back kind of like talking. One of the things that I kept hearing was leukemia. So at that time, I kind of knew what it was, not really, but I would just see my mom and my grandma, my aunt, they were crying on the side. So I knew it was something serious when they had mentioned that. So I was scared, honestly. That was the only thing that I was scared.
Yeah, and especially being diagnosed at such a small age, when you're basically going through a change, becoming a preteen and all those other changes that goes around. how was your life as a teenager, knowing that you had to go through the different medications and the different things that you had to do? Can you tell us a little bit about that time?
Yeah, so right now I'm currently 25 years old. So it's been about 16 years that I've been dealing with this. As a child, I mean, at home I got treated normally. At school, the same thing. Thank God I was never bullied or anything. So I had a really good support system. I grew up with cousins and brothers that were like pretty much there for me all the time. The only thing that was different was not being able to play sports. So my dream was to always be a cheerleader, and obviously it's a really dangerous sport. So I had to stop doing that, and so that's what I was right in the middle of doing when I got diagnosed. So there was a lot of things like not being able to play rough. I had two brothers, so it was kind of hard not to play rough. I did feel like the only thing that I remember as a kid hearing is my mom telling my brothers, like, don't hit her, be nice to her, like, you know, she's delicate. So I did have to go through chemotherapy as well. So I did that for about 6 months when I was about 9 years old, or going on 10. So I did that for 6 months, and that worked. Then I was good up until maybe like 15 or going on 16 is when we had what's called a flare. So it's basically like a relapse. It's when your body starts again getting sick. Yeah. So I had got sick again. I didn't have to take chemotherapy that time. Okay. So I was able to get everything back to normal with just medication. One of the medications I was on and still am on is Cellcept. Okay. So that's my main course of treatment right now, as well as steroids and a medication called Plaquenil, which is very common for lupus patients. And with this whole pandemic going on, that was also another medication that everybody claimed to solve the issue. So during that time, it was very actually hard to get a hold of that medication. So I've been pretty much treated with the same medication for a while, and we found the course of treatment that has been working. So I do get like labs done every few months, just to make sure that everything is on schedule, or not on schedule, running good.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the flares, you know, those times where you have that. I know the fourth flare. Let's talk about the fourth time that you had that flare. What happened? How old were you, and what happened?
So I've had 4 flares in my 16 years of being diagnosed. The first one wasn't as bad. The second one was pretty much all other flares were just getting admitted to the hospital 1 or 2 days and then leaving. My most recent flare back in 2017 was one of the biggest ones, and I would say was my life-changing flare as well. So I had just actually turned 21, so there was a lot of drinking, a lot of like going out with friends. I had just turned 21, so obviously like I was happy that I was being able to drink, but in the back was also a lot of stress in my life. My dad had just passed away about like literally exactly a month before I went into the hospital, and there was a lot of stress going on with work. So that's the main cause for that one. Also, I wasn't really taking care of myself. I wasn't taking my medication how I was supposed to be. I was kind of thinking I was like a normal person, a normal adult, and just trying to live my life. But I realized that I can't ever be normal. I have to take care of myself. Yeah. So that one was a very bad one. I got admitted into the hospital, and when I was admitted, the day right after is when I started having seizures. So I had what's called edema. So it's when basically like you get swollen, you're retaining a lot of water, and that usually happens when your kidneys are not working. So my kidneys were borderline failure.
Oh, wow.
So that's what was causing a lot of retention.
Mm-hmm.
And I had noticed it.
But didn't.
A few weeks before. I didn't say anything because I was following up with my doctors and I didn't think that it could get bad. But then finally something like told me like, you need to go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually asked my boyfriend to take me to the hospital, and I didn't think it was going to be something big. And he was like, let's call your mom, and I didn't want to. And that was also, I think, the day we were doing like a visual for my dad for his 1 month. And then that's when it all kind of went downhill.
Mm-hmm. And you were in the hospital for almost a week or 2 weeks, I think.
Almost a month. 3 weeks, yeah.
Oh my God.
So I got released February 3rd, I think, and I was admitted on January 19th.
Yes.
So it was about a month. Yeah.
A month.
Yeah.
And you were in coma. Induced coma.
Yeah, so I had, I don't know how many seizures exactly, but I know that they said I was having nonstop seizures, so the only way to stop it was to induce me into a coma. So I think it was about 3 days that I was in a coma. I'm not exactly sure.
It was about 3 days, yeah.
Yeah. And then I just remember, I don't remember anything happening between. From what my mom tells me, I was very mean. I was very aggressive. And I've read that that can happen with seizures, that obviously it's something in your brain. So luckily from all of those seizures, after like doing the MRIs and all of that, it showed that there was no brain damage, nothing. Being in the coma didn't cause anything. Only thing after coming back from the coma was I had to learn to walk, to eat like real foods again. But the doctors were very impressed with how fast everything was progressing.
Yes.
So that was good.
Yeah. And I think, when I think back, when you were in the hospital, that month that you were in a coma, of course there's things that you don't remember. But one of the things that I want to highlight is what God was doing in the back end. We were just seeing you laying down in that bed. And as a matter of fact, we will be sharing some pictures that you would like to share with the viewers about how you were in that bed. And God was working in the back end. I remember that there was this couple, a very close friends of ours, that the wife worked in the hospital, and she would go every day to pray for you and to encourage your mom, your family. And I remember that God gave the husband a word, and the word was that you were going to be okay, and that you were not going to be in a hospital again until you had your baby. And that was like, I think that was our hope, that we knew that God was going to do something to you. I remember walking into that room one day, and they were doing the transfusion, the blood transfusion, the machine was going on. And all I could see was God telling me, I am cleaning her. My blood is not somebody else's blood, it's my blood in her body. And I am just cleansing her out. And after you came out of that coma, you totally changed your life. And it was because God was working in the inside, in your body, to do the miracle in the outside. And God used so many beautiful vessels. So it has been a very good journey after that hospital. Tell us about that. How did it change you completely?
So now it's been 5 years almost.
Yes.
Yeah, going on 5 years. So since then, I heard this somewhere where it said, you don't start living your life until you realize that you're living your life.
Yes.
And I felt like that moment was when I realized that, this is my life. Yeah. And that's when I really started living for myself. So I started taking care of myself, eating healthy, working out. I know everybody hates hearing that. Everybody hates hearing, you need to eat healthy, you need to work out. And honestly, as a kid, I hated hearing that. I was forced to take all these types of, Hispanic people, they make you take all these types of licuados and everything. So I was the guinea pig for my family.
Remolacha, zanahoria, all that thing.
I was the guinea pig of my family, doing all that. But honestly, I feel like that's what really helped me. Like after being in the hospital, I was determined to heal myself. Yes. Mentally and physically.
Yes.
So I did a lot of removing stress from my life. No longer cared about what other people thought of me. Eating healthy and working out. And it wasn't working out to lose weight. It was working out to relieve stress. Yeah. So even if it's like 30-minute walk, anything. When you do some sort of cardio and you're sad or something, and just go run. Trust me, you will feel so much better.
Yes.
So since then, that's what I've been doing. Lots of working out, eating healthy, and it was true. I did have a baby. So I had a baby about a year ago. He's 15 months.
Yes.
15 months. So it was very life-changing.
Yes. So it was God did the miracle. He said it and He did it.
Yeah.
And I know. A baby was not even. Tell us about that, because I know at some point they told you will not be able to have babies.
Yeah. So I had just moved out of from living with my mom. I think I was 18, 19. And I moved in to live with my boyfriend. Not recommended, obviously. But I was so lucky to be able to move into a family who really who treated me like their daughter.
Yes.
So my in-laws, they don't have any girls, so basically they treated me like their daughter. I remember going to the doctor and talking about options, because I wanted to get on birth control, because at that time I didn't want kids. So they told me that I should get on birth control, but first I should look into a fertility clinic and have my eggs frozen. I remember coming home that day and crying, because that's not what I wanted to do. I looked up the prices and it was basically impossible. So I threw that card away. It was like a referral card, and I threw it away, and I told my boyfriend, if God wants it to happen, it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna force it, and if anything, we'll adopt. And then when I got sick, we hadn't talked about kids at all. And then after is when I realized, if I would have died, who would you have left? And then that's when I decided to get healthy, to lose weight, because I knew that obviously with pregnancy you gain weight, and it's very high risk for me. So that's why I think one of my biggest pushes was to get healthy and lose a lot of weight, to try to have a baby. And then I think 9 or 10 months after my weight loss journey is when I actually got pregnant. And I got pregnant pretty much, I had a miscarriage first. So with lupus, the medications you're on, it's very hard to have a baby that is unplanned. So it needs to be planned with your doctors and everything. So I was already talking to them about it, and they were getting me off of certain medications to be able to have a baby. But the first one was an accident, so I did have a miscarriage, and that was due to the medication I was on. So we got off of that, and exactly 1 month after, I got pregnant again. So basically, this is my rainbow baby too.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. It's a double miracle, a double blessing.
Yes.
For you.
Double rainbow.
Yes. And you named him.
So I wanted something from the Bible. So after I got sick, it was funny because I felt like when you say that God is talking to you, I realized that that's what was happening the month before, because I was in the car and something always told me to turn the Christian channel on, and I didn't know that my boyfriend liked that type of music neither, and for some reason he comes home one day and he turns on the radio and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And then it was weird just because, like, you know, you guys are Christian too, and then the fact that he was like trying to listen to that music and everything too, that's when I realized, like, wow, like this is literally perfect. Because I know a lot of couples fight about religion and stuff, but that was something we had never talked about. I think we were together for
Like 7 years.
yeah, like 7 years,
Yeah.
and never had that came up. And out of nowhere, that just came up, and then that was literally the month before I got sick too. So I just felt like God was like talking to me in a way, because every morning when I would go into work, that's what I would listen to. I would listen to Christian music, and I knew I was getting sick. I felt it, but just the music is what like made me keep going. And so now I hear certain songs and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what makes me think about that time. But not in a bad way, because like for me, it was an eye-opening. A lot of things changed, but in a good way. It's like they say, the rainbow always comes after a storm. So I had a tough, that year was very tough. But what helped me was my brother actually had a baby. He was hiding it from all of us.
Yes.
But at the end, it was a good thing because I got distracted of what I was going through, and I just saw, like, you know, a baby, and I love kids. So and that's what I feel like really got me through it, having somebody to distract me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so when you became pregnant of your baby, what name? Because I know the name, but I wanted to share the name.
So we wanted
this beautiful.
we wanted a Bible name, so we were looking through all the names, and one day I was listening to a song or something, and they said Isaac, and I was like, oh, I like that name. And so then I went to, I think I told my cousin Ishmael about the name, and then he told me the story, because I mean, I haven't really read the Bible, I'm not too familiar with it, but he told me the story about how him and Isaac in the Bible are like related somehow, or friends, cousins or something. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, that's perfect then, because he's like my best friend. So I was like, that's perfect. So then we went with the name Isaac. So his name is Isaac Xavier Sagastizado.
Yes, yes, and he is adorable.
Yes.
He's
Very
adorable. So I know you talk about, you know, lupus. Some of the things is to not have a stressful life. You're now a mom, and I know that can be hard sometimes, being a mom. I mean, you know, Isaac is 1 year, and he will keep growing, and there will be other things that is going to come the way. What are you going to do? I know you say you've been exercising, but what other things can you do to cope with lupus and also with the stress of being a mom? Do you have a plan for that? What are you going to do?
I didn't realize how hard it is to be a mom, especially a toddler mom and a boy mom. So my biggest thing is getting help. So luckily I have my mom, my aunt, my in-laws, you guys, because you guys live close, so I have a lot of help. And of course, his dad is a huge help. Honestly, without him, I don't know where I'd be. Because he's the one that helped me really like love myself. I think, I don't know too much, but I think that maybe when I was a kid I did suffer from depression, and that's why I never talked to nobody. Like I never expressed how I felt, but I think it was some sort of depression, and with him I could forget all that. So he made me love myself and made me find myself, and I'm so glad that we're still together 11 years later.
Yes.
But getting the help and talking to your partner about what you need, I felt like that's what really helps me cope with my stress. Sometimes if I just need to leave, if I need to go shopping or something to relieve stress, he'll say, go, you can go by yourself, you don't have to take him. So that's one of the biggest things, accepting help. I know that a lot of moms say, I want to do this myself, but just take the help. Just take it, it's there.
Wow, that is so good. That's very good. Yeah, because there is a lot of young girls that are probably going through a journey of lupus or other disease, and you know, it's hard, like you say, you know, it's hard to ask for help, but the help is there. What else would you say to someone that is probably going through, you know, the lupus journey? What would you say?
So my phrase is always, God gives his battles to his strongest people. So he wouldn't put something in front of you that he knows that you can't handle. So that's been one of my biggest things, that, you know, this is for a reason, whether it's for me to learn from it, to speak about it, to bring awareness to it. I think that's what it is. So that's one of my advice to you would be that it gets better. I know it's hard, but as you grow up and as you're going through the journey, you learn a lot. You learn to love yourself. You learn to take care of yourself, but you also learn to be patient. I feel like that's where my patience comes from. With having a kid, it's very hard to find your patience, but sitting in the hospital and not doing anything, I feel like that's where my patience came from. Just sitting in that room and waiting, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so good, Jessy. That is so good. God has been so good to you, and I know that there is a bright future ahead of you. Isaac loves you so much, and you are just so full of love. You know, you're just so full of love. And one of the things that I can say, you know, is that I've known you since you were in your mom's womb. Oh my goodness, I'm that old, right? But you have always been so peaceful, so joyful, and even though when you were going through all this situation with lupus, you have always keep your love, your peace, and your joy.
Yeah.
And that is just so beautiful.
It's like they say, when you're sick, get up and walk, because being in the bed just makes you more sick.
Yes.
So I always find distractions for myself. And of course, being positive, always being positive. That's what gets you through life. Speaking things into existence.
Amen. Amen.
You are
I
a true
love
inspiration.
It. Yes.
Yeah. As a child, I never believed that I would have a 15. I never believed I would have a baby. And actually, in a few months, we will be getting married. So never discourage yourself. Never think negative.
Yes. Yes. And it looks like you're just living your life, being happy, and enjoy the present time, you know. And I think that is so important, because there is a lot of people that go through illnesses or situation and they get stuck. They don't enjoy life, you know. They're stuck in their sickness, they're stuck in the sadness and depression. But you know, it sounds like you are doing so well of learning every day just to love and enjoy life. And I love it. I love it, because you know, this is what breaking through is. We want to encourage everyone that no matter what situation they're going through, to enjoy life. Just embrace your journey.
Yes.
And it sounds like you're a great example of that. So I thank you for that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you, Jessy, for being such an inspiration.
Yes.
I hope that you continue to share this story, because I know it goes beyond from what you have said today. And we're just really grateful. One, we give honor and thanks to the Lord for keeping you here still with us. And as your cousin, like, that is the most blessed that I could feel, is that like God literally, he works through any type of situation, and he lifts up people with so much strength. And we have seen that in you. God has put so much strength in you as a woman, as a mom, as a soon-to-be wife.
Yes.
And we're just very excited for this new journey for you. And keep fighting, and God has very special things for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen. That's so good. So good. Thank you to our viewers as well for being with us today. And it is our promise that we will continue to bring stories, testimonies that will encourage you. So stay tuned for the next one. Thank you again, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessy.